Celtics getting some rest after a long week. We'll look back at the Jrue Holiday strategy and the bigger picture. Plus, Jordan Walsh does a very cool thing. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday. Bonus podcast when they play on the weekend, and thankfully, they're not playing on the weekend this week. We all get to chill out, enjoy your Saturday and Sunday. Do some of your holiday shopping. You could do it at johnkaralis.com and buy my book, Built Different, which I've written about the Celtics championship run. johnkaralis.com, $30. I'll ship it to your door in the United States. So, hey, do that. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube and get into the comment section. I love seeing the threads popping up in the comment section. I am John Karalis. That's why I wasn't plugging some other dude. If you're new to the show, that's me. I'm John Karalis. I've been covering the team for about 20 years and doing it as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we're going to talk about Jordan Walsh, who did a very cool thing. He just wants to play ball. I really appreciate what he did, and we'll talk about that coming up. But it was a long week for the Celtics last week. Let's just kind of look back at it and some of the bigger picture stuff, and we're going to do it with our guy, Tom Westerholm. Actually, I like the way I just did it on YouTube. It's like, do I have a guest with me? Yes, I do. It's Tom. Tom's back.
Who's our guy? It's Tom. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
How you doing, Tom Westerholm?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I am just great. I'm great. I'm just enjoying, not staying up till 4 a.m. to do podcasts and stuff.
It's like the off season, which is nice for like 2 days, and then you're like, wait a minute,
yeah.
What are we going to
and then we're like, wait a second, what are we talking about? These guys are okay. You got to give us at least a practice something. No, it's like two extremes, but to give them all this time off, I mean, there's how many nagging injuries at this point? So maybe they get an extra day off, but probably some film sessions. I'm sure the guys are in the gym, unless Joe told them to stay home, in which case I was just go down to like Bermuda, take a quick flight, like charter a flight, get one of your private planes, Jayson Tatum, just after the game, just get on the plane, wake up in Puerto Rico the next day, take 2 days on the beach, and then come home. Like, just do that. Why not? Yeah. I would absolutely do that if I had the means. I would do it right now. If somebody wants to give me a private plane right now, I will get on that and go to Puerto Rico and just chill.
Don't everybody speak at once.
Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there for anybody who might want to hook that up.
Yeah.
No.
It's
silence.
Tax deductible. It's not tax deductible. Don't do that. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think it's like badly needed, right? Like these guys that was a grindy week, and like you could start to see it. Like I thought like the team did a pretty good job of not running guys into the dirt over the course of that week. Like, yeah, but even still, you get to the end of that one. I mean, it's credit to them. Like they played the Grizzlies tough, and that's a fast, energetic team. That Grizzlies team, like playing them tough, given the circumstances, wasn't bad at all. But that's a long stretch of hoops to have to work through, and you get a nice little break at the end. That's not bad at all.
As I've been saying, 4-2 in that stretch is absolutely fine with me. Considering
given the two. Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about a loss to the best team in the East, or the winningest team in the East, and the number one seed, and
you were shorthanded. right? Like,
yes.
Yep.
And a loss to the 2 seed in
Yeah.
the West, which are generally acceptable losses anyway. And the Celtics, after that Chicago game where they were finally at full strength, back down to not full strength for any of these games on purpose. So all in all, a great stretch of basketball. I know there's going to be some people who will get on there and be like, oh, they get paid to do blah, blah. Like, listen, man, you can give me all of Elon Musk's money. It's not going to make me run 3 miles any faster than I can run 3 miles. And by the way, not even 100% sure I can actually run the 3 miles at this point. But these guys are elite athletes, but you're still, I don't know how much I can stress this. 48 minutes of basketball against other elite athletes, very large humans who are trying to stop you from doing what you're doing, constantly being hit. Like, it's not a non-contact sport. It's not football, but it's not non-contact. I know that back when I was playing in college even, and I would play 36 minutes twice a week, that at the end of that game, I was wiped out, and that was the best shape I was ever in my life. And these guys are like, you do that and like, oh, by the way, there's a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah. And then you get one day off, and then there's another game, and then you get one day off, and then there's 2 more games. By the end, I'm just like, you know what, coach, I got a sprained ankle. Yeah, whatever. Seriously. So the body can only take so much punishment, no matter how well conditioned you are. So I think the Celtics coming out of it 4-2 at this point. I know Cleveland just lost to Miami, so Celtics are a game and a half out of first at this point. You're in perfect position. So I look back on that week that was, and I say, fine, totally fine. And on top of it, and I'll stop talking now, those losses weren't like blowouts.
No.
One thing I said after the Memphis loss when I recorded that podcast, I was impressed. I was as impressed with the fight in that game. They didn't come through, and there are things they could have done better, but also they just could have shot better. Jrue Holiday, he just missed. Like, a lot of those shots just didn't fall, but they fought until the very end. Like, they didn't pull Milwaukee last season and get blown out by 50 in the second quarter. They were in it. They had a chance in the last 30 seconds, even with everything. So I come out of that week feeling great.
One of my favorite, not my favorite, one of the funnier memories of last season was the night of that night of the Celtics just getting worked by the Bucks, and like TNT just bouncing around desperately trying to find, and like OKC's up by 36.
Yeah,
and they
that's right.
Like, we could do this Knicks game where it's a 20-point game. We'll go to that one, I guess. It was so good. Yeah, no, I think you look at the Celtics season so far, right? To your point, they're, roughly a game and a half, whatever they are, out of first. And it's like, hey, you've gotten through the portion of your schedule where Kristaps Porzingis is out. You've gotten through the portion of your schedule where you knew you had 5 and 7 and, whatever it was it like, 6 and 10 or something like that, where it was like, where it's so many games. You've gotten through both of those parts of your schedule, and you are precisely within the parameters of where you want to be. Like, you're not, during the summer, I said a bunch of times, like, I don't care if they're in 6th, I just get to the playoffs healthy. I do not care. And, they got through this section with, like little nagging things, right? But Sam Hauser said he was going to be okay. Everybody seems like they're pretty okay. And now they get some time to nurse any of their, little, knocks or bumps or whatever it is. And then you can get back to it. And you've gotten through it. You got through the two parts that were like, man, you hope that this doesn't derail you at all. And it didn't at all. They're in great shape. To your point, like, I mean, they played the Grizzlies tough. The Cavs, they played them tough, and they were without Jaylen, right?
That was no Jaylen and no Derek.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Or no Jrue. I can't even remember, but they were without two guys.
Jrue missed the Pistons game.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And I mean, what you've discovered right through this course, the course of this stretch is like, dang, this Peyton Pritchard guy might,
Yeah.
there's
He's
something
pretty
there.
good.
Like
He's
there's some stuff to work with. So like, you come out of this whole stretch just feeling great about where the Celtics are at. They've got, pretty good health. They seem to be, like the chemistry is all there. And oh, hey, by the way, one of their bench guys now looks like he could be an all-star someday. So yeah, pretty good little run.
And the only reason 19-5 isn't good enough to be first place is because the Cleveland Cavaliers went on an insane run to start.
Yeah.
Like they are just 21-4. No one expected that. So
right, if you look at their last 10, that's not, I don't know, they're falling apart at the seams.
Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. So that's all fun. But some interesting things happen on top of Peyton Pritchard. The Holiday, that strategy against Jrue Holiday is an interesting thing, and we'll dive into that. The return of Marcus Smart. We'll talk about all of that stuff when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Tackle that NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, you, new customer, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So just go place that first $5 bet. The Sportsbook app, FanDuel Sportsbook app, gives you everything you need to place those live bets on the NFL, NBA. It's all right there. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, check out the stats, the play-by-play, and all of that stuff on the same page where you place your bets. So you can see it all, confirm your little hunch, and maybe you get those 150 in bonus bets over at FanDuel.com. Make sure you're using the tools that they have available. This is so important that you set it up and you know right away. Like, I know I'm going to spend this much. This is my disposable income. This is my gambling budget. Set it, forget it, and then they'll hold you to it so you can have fun gambling responsibly. It's FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. $5 bet. If it wins, 150 in bonus bets for you new customers. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out our new daily newsletter. It's delivered directly to your inbox when you sign up at LockedOnDaily.com. LockedOnDaily.com. Celtics, league, and fantasy coverage all in one place, all in your inbox, all for free, Monday through Friday. LockedOnDaily.com. So the big talk after the Memphis game was like, oh my God, they really left Jrue Holiday open. And you see it right away. And I was snarky enough on Twitter to be like, I don't know if this strategy of leaving the best corner 3-point shooter open for corner 3-point shots is going to work. And it kind of did. He just was cold. And I don't know what the answer is here, but I did wonder, did they say, Jrue's not shooting it well right now, let's just do this and see, let's test it? Or did they think, this is the end of a long stretch and he's not shooting? Like, maybe everybody's tired. When you're tired, you miss shots short, and he hasn't been shooting it well anyway. This is our chance to, like, let's see if we can steal one, which Porzingis after the game said teams are trying to come in and steal these. And I'm not saying the Grizzlies are going to sit here and put a long-term final strategy together. They want to win these games, and that was something that made them win the game in a very competitive Western Conference that made them, keep pace with the 2 seed. So I don't know, Tom, is this anything more than the Grizzlies took a wild swing at something, it worked, congratulations, or do you think this is something that other teams are going to go, ooh, hey, now this is how we defend the Celtics? Oh, hold on.
Don't think that
answer that question again, pretending that I hadn't muted you that whole time.
Yeah, I don't think that this is a situation where it's like, ooh, we just discovered that Jrue Holiday stinks. I think we're on to something here, right? Like that's clearly not it. I think that to me, it was, the thing that was interesting to me was, right, it felt a little bit like a playoff adjustment, where you get those games where the coach is like, okay, we've tried like 3 things. Let's toss this one out for the first quarter and see how it goes. And maybe it works.
Yeah.
And then it might. And then like a team takes game 3 because the other team had trouble. Like we talked about last year, that the Steve Jones thing where it was like, okay, the playoffs are about how fast can we adjust to this thing right now, like immediately. And it's like, that's kind of what it felt like, was that the Celtics were like, shoot, we got to adjust to this thing right now. And, for one night, they couldn't do it. I think if you gave Joe Mazzulla the same team again, if you gave the Celtics the same team again, they would be ready for that strategy immediately, for sure. So it's less to me that like they've unlocked something about Jrue Holiday, and more, it's kind of interesting that a team, in my opinion, for I think the first time this year, really just said like the other team dictated what the Celtics could do and would be able to do. That hasn't happened much. The Celtics have sometimes been off, right, and missed 3-pointers and not done the thing that they were. But generally speaking, other teams haven't really been able to kind of dictate precisely like, okay, we're not going to let you do anything because we're going to force you into this. Yeah. And that happened. That's kind of interesting to me. I think it's, I don't totally know what it means, but it did feel a little bit different. And again, a million mitigating circumstances, right? Not the least of which being 5 games in 7 nights, and nobody kind of expected the Celtics to win in the first place. But I don't know. It was interesting to see another team successfully tell the Celtics, no, you're allowed to do one thing. We're going to dare you to do that one thing. And then the Celtics just kind of be like, geez, why won't this wide open shot that I normally make and that I made 60% of the time last year, why won't this go down?
That's the thing. Like yes, they dictated the thing that the Celtics could do, but that's also saying like if you were to tell your kid, all you can have is ice cream today, and that's what you're going to eat, and your kid would be like, oh, I can have all the ice cream. And what ends up happening is you get an ice cream headache, and you're like, oh, this didn't go as well as I'd hoped. If you approach it a little bit differently, you'd be like happy to have all the ice cream you want. But that's basically what happened. They gave the Celtics the thing that they wanted the most. And what ended up working was not only did Jrue Holiday miss, it was Jaylen Brown was just passing and didn't take a single shot in the first quarter. So it was a twofold strategy of, we know the Celtics will drive and they will kick when they are contested, and we'll live with what the kick is. I'm not going to say fear, but I've always wondered what would happen if teams really leaned into making the Celtics kick all the time. When it's Jaylen and Jayson, like, yes, get that drive. We want you to drive. And it's almost like I anticipate a defense against the Celtics, like a screen play blocking in the NFL, where like, oh, I'm trying to block you. Oh no, you got by me. What a shame that you got by me. I would say like the point of attack, you're like, oh, Jaylen Brown, you got by me. Oh no. And then you peel off to the corner and you collapse the defense. And then when the ball goes out to the corner, now you're guarding that corner guy. And I think that to me is always, if you can do that successfully, then you have a chance at defending the Celtics. And I think that's kind of, if there's any sort of blueprint there, that maybe a team will look at what the Grizzlies did and said, okay, if we did this and purposely let this happen, we can use our perimeter guys to shoot down to the corners, and it's going to be nothing but crazy rotations. But if we can do it, then we're staying in front, we're preventing the rim, and we're contesting the shots. There's something in there where it's not exactly, let's just let Jrue Holiday, or let's expand it out. Is Porzingis the one that's cold? Is it Horford the one that's cold? Is somebody in a prolonged shooting slump? It's not just challenge that guy to shoot. It's let's bait the Celtics into the kick, so we're not getting Jaylen Brown at the rim and the ball's going as far away from the rim as possible. And now we're back out to defending that. And the Celtics are eating up clock. And then at the end, we'll take our chances with 5 seconds and like maybe we can bait them into some sort of isolation, and that's our best chance because maybe that you can build a wall and whatever. So
yeah,
I don't have a fear of the defense that Memphis played. I do have a question of whether the defense that Memphis played could be the building block of something successful down the line.
For sure. But I also think, to your point, right, that the bigger takeaway is, okay, the Grizzlies like won a game to keep themselves within striking distance, to keep them in second. Like that's, I think the other stuff is I think is valid and kind of interesting, and to both of us. But I also think that like the bigger story here is like, hey, good job, Memphis. That was a big win for you guys.
Nice, yeah,
nice,
good for you. Good job.
Yep. GG's. Yeah.
For sure. Before the game, Marcus Smart did something cool with his baby at the arena, and the Celtics baby, Jordan Walsh. Oh, that worked. Did that work? Everybody did something cool at a different arena. We'll talk about both of those when we come back. Nothing podcasters love more than a good segue. Today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. You know those big wireless providers, it's never what you see is what you get. There's always a gotcha in there between the store and the first month's bill. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about the gotcha again, because when Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. You can say bye-bye, overpriced wireless providers and their jaw-dropping monthly bills and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. Every one of these plans comes with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts, and you can ditch overpriced wireless. With Mint Mobile's deal, get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. $45 upfront payment is required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower than 40 gig on speeds slower above 40 gig on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA has got the whole league covered every night, 7 days a week on Locked On Game Night, 5 days a week on the afternoons, and the big stories on the regular Locked On NBA show, debate style. So check out Locked On NBA. I normally host on Fridays, but next 2 Thursdays the Celtics are playing, so I'll be taking a couple of weeks off. But still, check out the Locked On NBA podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Tom, Marcus Smart. See, now you muted yourself. I can't unmute you this time. At least I caught it before you started talking. Marcus Smart brought his baby to the game, and it was very cool. Jay King got the story on The Athletic. Or Jay King got the story. Shake my fist. That Marcus brought his son, who's only 2 months old, because he wanted his son to be there to at least be present in the adulation that he was going to get. Even though 2-month-old baby has no clue what's going on and will never remember it, he wants to be able to show his son the pictures somewhere down the road in the video and be like, this is what you were experiencing at 2 months old. And I want you to see all of the stuff that daddy did, which is cool. Like it's a kind of a bonding moment. And I was standing like right next to Marcus when he was holding his baby. I know Marcus was looking forward to being a dad. We talked about it before he left. He was very excited about it. And he was, you couldn't find a more doting father. He was just like, I thought he was going to play with the baby in one arm. But it was a very cool moment. It was cool to see Marcus back.
Yeah. It was really cool to see Marcus back. I honestly, it's, it was funny because I went back and watched the, the tribute video. It's weird how his return got like and almost too bad how his return got kind of like stretched in a weird way, where it was like there was like he wasn't playing the first time, but he was there, and so they had the tribute video, but then it's his return to the court, and like that's pretty cool, but you don't want to have a tribute video a second time, right? But like it's.
I was wondering whether they'd just run that one again.
I think they should have. But I mean, also I don't know. I liked Marcus as a player and as a person, and
yes,
as a professional, like it's hard not to like Marcus. So I am the wrong person to ask, because my vote would be like, hey, give that guy some cool stuff. I like him. But like,
just play it on a loop throughout the whole game. How about that?
Yeah, just do that. Yeah. Yeah, make everybody really want to come to Boston, because you might have just like a loop of your highlights when you come back if you're good enough. No, I mean, it was cool to see him back. It was cool to see that the reaction was still as strong as it was. It's been a while, now since Marcus was a Celtic, and it's still like he mattered to this team and to, I think, the city and everything else, right? Like what Marcus Smart did mattered, and it is honestly just a shame that he didn't get to win a title with this group. Like it feels weird that he didn't get to do that. And I think a lot of people, even when the trade happened, I think a lot of Celtics fans were kind of expressing that, like, yeah, if this team wins the title, I'm still going to be sad that Marcus wasn't there to experience it too. So it's like, it's nice that Marcus mattering still matters, that's still the case. I was glad to see that. And that tribute video was really nice. It was fun to go back and watch that again.
Yeah, but it just goes to show, like, everything moves forward, man. Everything just moves. The Celtics, like, you made that trade, and when it happened, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe. And then right away you saw it working. You're like, oh wow, this works very, very well. Yeah. And now it becomes like, wow, we got Porzingis basically for only Marcus Smart. Like that's, and the narrative changes. Like whatever you think in the moment, it's always going to change, because there's always more context to be added to the event. So the trade, and like, we were upset that Robert Williams got traded. And then he goes and he gets hurt and hurt again. And you're like, oh man, but
when he comes back, he looks like a star. It's still there.
And he's just, And then he gets hurt. You're like, oh man. But and then the Celtics win a championship without those guys, and you're like, can't say a thing. It just, I think
it says like things move on quickly. It also says like you should trust Brad Stevens with your basketball team.
100%. Oh my God. This
guy's got his finger on the pulse, I think.
It's funny that he followed in the footsteps of Danny Ainge, because he's literally following in the footsteps of Danny Ainge in a lot of ways, where Danny was a coach. And I think Brad was a better coach than Danny was.
I think so too.
And I don't even think it was close. But regardless, then Danny goes upstairs, and it's like, oh, wow, Danny's a pretty good general manager. And then Brad goes upstairs, and you're like, oh, he's learned a lot from Danny, I guess. And the lack of fear of trading away picks, like some of the things that Danny Ainge, I think, has grown into as a running a team. Brad's like, yeah, that's great, but we're going to not do that. And it's worked, that would Danny Ainge have made the Derek White trade as constituted? Like, he might have balked at some of the pick, value that went out. I don't know that a lot of these maneuverings go the same way, and whatever, it doesn't matter, because thank you, Danny Ainge, for the picks that you made that built half of the Celtics team. Thank you, Brad Stevens, for building your half of the Celtics team.
Thank you, Brad Stevens, for trading away the picks that Danny made that didn't help.
That's right. And then he, at the end of the second round somewhere, he's fine. Well, not even the end of the second round. Sam Hauser comes in undrafted. He's a critical piece. Jordan Walsh, don't know what he's going to be yet, but he knows that he needs work. This is the coolest thing, where Noah Dalzell is writer for Celtics blog, and she's up there at the G League game talking to Jordan after the game. And he was like, yeah, we were practicing and I realized we're going to have an off day. And so I asked if I could play in this game. Like it was his first G League game of the season. He hasn't been playing much, at the NBA side, no matter what we thought. It hasn't gone exactly the way, he had hoped. And so he was like, I would have just been chilling at home doing nothing. So I just asked if I could play. And Brad Stevens was like, you want to play? Okay, yeah, sure. Go play basketball. And so he's a rare case of somebody asking to go to the G League. And he scored 20 points on like 8 of 10 shooting and had a good game. Like it's kind of something that he needed to do. It was a smart thing. But I don't know. My joke on Twitter was he probably scored more points with the Celtics front office than he scored on the floor by asking to go, because all of a sudden my first reaction of that is like, oh, this kid's a gamer. He wants to get better, man. He's not going to sit there and just say, all right, I'm going to take my day off and relax. He's like, no, I'm coming in, I'm going to work and I need to get better. And this is my chance to do it. I thought it was amazing that he did that.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because it's like there's a little bit of like, okay, try hard, like, but no, that's the point. You have to like if you're in Jordan Walsh's situation, you have to be a try hard. You literally do. You can't be like try hard as you can. That's how. I mean, for one thing, that's how you make the NBA, right? Like that's But as in his situation, that's how you stick in the NBA. Is you try hard and like. Good for him, man. Like, yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, what a like grinder mindset to kind of to want to go play in Maine on a day off. I mean, like we just got done talking about how hard this week has been on guys. Like your Jaysons and your Jaylens and your Holiday, White, all them. Hasn't been that hard for Jordan Walsh. Like he hasn't. That dude needed some hooping. Yeah. So like, yeah, go get it in. Like. It's good stuff. I lot of respect for that. A lot of respect for the tryhards. If you're somebody who tries hard at things, salute.
I'm trying to find the box score. Of course, the G League site is not working right now. I'm trying to figure out like did Jrue Peterson play in this game? I don't want to say what I'm going to say if he didn't play in this game. If he did play in this game, because I'm like, if he didn't. Then it's like, oh, well, can you imagine him sitting there and being like, oh, I also wanted to play, but let's see.
How long do you think it's going to be until the Celtics have an off day and Peyton Pritchard is like, wait a minute, can I go play in the G League?
Let's see here.
He's just trying to recreate his 92-point game.
Did Jordan Walsh? So Jordan Walsh he came off the bench. Okay, Jrue Peterson did play, so he did play. So. I'm just waiting. I was waiting to see is somebody there. Baylor Shireman played Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh came off the bench for the Maine Celtics. So 20 off the bench for him. Yeah, you're right though. You gotta be a tryhard, man. You gotta do something that makes you stand out, because there are hundreds of Jordan Walshes out there that are somewhat equal. And what sets you apart? I say this so many times. There's 450 to 500 players in the NBA. There's probably thousands capable of filling any one of those spots at the end of all of these benches. So the last 60 to 90 spots are there's players everywhere. There are players who, if one thing went differently, could have like a 10-year NBA career, and it didn't. And now their entire career is overseas. Yeah. And like, that's just the dumb luck of things. It sucks. But this type of move from Jordan Walsh is, at least if you're looking at it as a scale, it puts like that little gram on the scale that keeps you in the NBA. Yeah. It's just one of those little weights that's like, if Brad is like looking at something like, you know what, I'm going to give him this one extra shot. That's what it is.
I think it's funny, right? Because it's like I balk a little bit when I hear like the control your narrative thing. Like I think there's some like, for some guys, I think that's not as plausible to do for reasons that we don't need to get into with 34 minutes into a podcast. But there are little things that you can do to not control your narrative, but it's like the only narrative that can come out of Jordan Walsh saying, "Hey, can I go play in Maine?" is positive for Jordan Walsh, right?
That's right.
It's like there's no downside to that. That is a strictly like, even if he didn't play well, who cares? You went, you tried, you hooped a little bit. Nothing negative can come out of that. Only positives come out of that. So for Jordan Walsh, he had a positive weekend as a result of that. Just start, stacking your positives. That's great. That's awesome that he did that. So yeah, big credit to him. That was a smart thing to do, and and it looks good.
Think of it as like paying a toll, and this is like
you gotta pay the troll toll.
You got to pay the troll toll if you want to get. No, never mind. I'm not going to finish that.
Even 35 minutes into the podcast.
35 minutes into the podcast, I'm not going to finish that. Everybody who watches Always Sunny knows how to finish that sentence. But like, yeah, you're right. Like, if you got to pay your toll, you got to pay your dues in the NBA, and this is just a few cents towards paying those dues, is paying that toll. So you're right. It's all positive. Anything that can get you into a coach's mind, into a front office's mind. And let's just say it this way. It doesn't have to be Brad Stevens. It doesn't have to be Joe Mazzulla. It could be somebody on the Portland Trailblazers or somewhere where the story filters out and be like, hey, that kid Walsh, he asked into the G League so he can get some extra reps. That just kind of like filters around. So when it comes time to a decision to be made, are we going to give this kid a shot or not? When this type of thing is part of the equation, that's the tiebreaker, right? So good for him. Good for him. It's super cool. I ton of respect for him. I don't know how his career is going to go, but ton of respect for him for doing something like this and speaking up. So good for him. Question. All right. I have almost as much respect for you, Tom Westerholm, but almost. You haven't asked into our minor league podcast system, which is vast, and I'm not going to get into it, but it's there.
It's true. It's true.
But I do appreciate you hopping on.
I appreciate you, man.
And I appreciate everybody here who listens, who watches, and who participates in the podcast on it. So much so that I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring my little puppy up here. This is a little Speedy, who is very surprised. This is YouTube exclusive only. So Speedy and I would love to thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Very much appreciate you being part of this journey with us. And I would love it if you get into that YouTube page, into that comment section. And if you're listening on audio, you got to get onto the YouTube page, because Speedy just wants to make out with me right now. So we're going to go do that. You go and share the podcast and tell everybody that you should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Right, buddy? Right, buddy?